Part 1. The Diplomatic Incident Captain. Marcus Chen rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the data pad again. The numbers still didn't make sense. His exploration ship, the Horizon's Edge, had been mapping star systems for 3 months without seeing another living soul. Now, suddenly, his sensors were picking up a massive alien fleet approaching fast. "Captain," called Lieutenant Sarah Park from the communications station. "We're getting a signal. It's translated into English somehow." Marcus straightened in, his command chair. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall, elegant alien with silver skin and large, dark eyes. The creature's mouth didn't move, but words came through the speakers in perfect English. "Greetings, human vessel. I am High Commander Zelka of the Zephyrian Trade Confederation. We have traveled far to find you, Captain Marcus Chen." Marcus felt his stomach drop. How did they know his name? "This is Captain Chen. How can I help you, Commander?" "We come with great celebration. The sacred bonding ceremony has been approved by the High Council. Your species has been chosen for this honor." Bonding ceremony? Marcus looked around at his confused crew. "I'm not sure I understand. The gifts will be transported to your vessel immediately. Please prepare your ceremonial chambers." Before Marcus could respond, the screen went dark. He turned to his tactical officer. "Report." "Lieutenant Kim, sir, they're launching small transport pods." "No weapons detected. But I'm reading some kind of energy signatures I've never seen before." "Should we raise shields?" asked Park. Marcus thought for a moment. The alien fleet was massive. If they wanted to destroy his ship, they could have done it already. "No, but keep weapons ready. Let's see what they want." 10 minutes later, the transport pod docked with their ship. Marcus led a security team to the airlock, his hand resting on his sidearm. The door hissed open, and a group of tall Zephyrians stepped through, carrying ornate boxes and what looked like ceremonial items. Behind them came the smallest alien Marcus had ever seen. She barely reached his waist, with the same silver skin as the others, but somehow more vibrant, almost glowing softly. Her large eyes were bright with excitement, and she moved with quick, eager steps that reminded Marcus of a happy child. "Captain Chen," she said in a high, musical voice, "I am Lyra 9, Cultural Ambassador of the Third Circle. This is such an honor." Marcus looked down at her, completely bewildered. "An honor? I'm sorry, but I still don't understand what's happening here." Lyra's eyes grew even wider. "Oh, they didn't tell you?" She clapped her small hands together. "You were given a wife, and it's me." The silence that followed was so complete that Marcus could hear the ship's engines humming. Behind him, he heard someone, probably Engineer Roberts, make a choking sound. "I'm sorry, what?" Marcus managed to say. "A wife, a bonding partner, a mate." Lyra bounced on her feet. "Our people studied your human broadcasts for many years. We learned about your customs, your movies, your love stories. The council decided that cultural bonding between our species would be very beneficial for trade and peace." Marcus felt like the world was spinning. "But you can't just assign someone a wife. That's not how it works." "Oh, but we were very careful in choosing." Lyra pulled out a small device that projected a holographic display. "See? We analyzed thousands of human male profiles, leadership qualities, physical health, emotional stability, genetic diversity markers. You scored highest in all categories." Lieutenant Park stepped forward. "Sir, maybe we should contact Earth Command?" "Yes," Marcus said quickly. "That's a good idea. Ambassador Lyra, this is all very unexpected. We need to speak with our government first." "Of course," Lyra nodded enthusiastically. "We sent all the proper diplomatic channels already. The paperwork was completed 3 standard weeks ago." Marcus felt his heart sink. If the Zephyrians had gone through official channels, that meant someone at Earth Command had already agreed to this. He activated his communicator. "This is Captain Chen calling Earth Command, Priority 1. The response came quickly. Admiral Harrison's tired face appeared on the screen. "Chen, we've been expecting your call." "Admiral, there seems to be some kind of misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding, Captain. The Zephyrian Trade Confederation controls shipping routes through 17 star systems. They've offered humanity exclusive trading rights worth trillions of credits." "But, sir, they want me to marry one of their people." Admiral Harrison sighed. "The cultural exchange program was part of the deal, Chen. The Zephyrians insisted on it. Something about ensuring long-term peaceful relations." "You can't be serious." "I'm afraid I am. Refusing this arrangement would be considered an insult to their entire civilization. It could mean war, Chen. Are you willing to risk that?" Marcus looked around at his crew. Park looked shocked. Kim seemed to be trying not to laugh. Roberts was definitely trying not to laugh. And Lyra was watching him with hopeful, trusting eyes. "How long?" Marcus asked quietly. "The minimum bonding period is 1 Earth year," Admiral Harrison said. "After that, you can request a diplomatic separation if both parties agree." Marcus closed the communication channel and turned back to Lyra. She was still smiling, but he could see something uncertain in her expression now. "You don't want me?" she said softly. It wasn't a question. Marcus felt a strange pang in his chest. "It's not that, Ambassador. It's just, in human culture, marriage is usually based on love, on choosing each other." "Love?" Lyra tilted her head. "Yes, we studied this concept. It's very interesting. Perhaps we can learn about it together." Despite everything, Marcus found himself almost smiling. "You want to learn about love?" "Oh, yes, and human courtship rituals. I've prepared extensively." She gestured to the Zephyrian delegation, who began unpacking their ceremonial boxes. "I brought gifts for our bonding ceremony. Star crystals from our home system, mathematical, poetry, and these..." She held up what looked like small glowing rocks. "These are harmony stones. They sing when they detect compatible biorhythms." The stones began to hum softly in her hands. Lieutenant Park leaned over to Marcus. "Sir, what do we do?" Marcus looked at Lyra's eager face, then at his crew, then at the massive alien fleet visible through the viewports. Earth needed those trade routes. His crew needed to get home safely. And Lyra was looking at him like he was the most important person in the universe. "Well," he said finally, "I guess we're going to learn about Zephyrian courtship rituals." Lyra's face lit up like a star going nova. "Oh, wonderful. This will be such an adventure, Marcus Chen. May I call you Marcus? Or do you prefer husband-to-be?" Marcus rubbed his forehead, feeling a headache coming on. "Marcus is fine." "Excellent. Now, where shall we set up our bonding shrine?" Part 2. Cultural Collision. Marcus woke up to the sound of singing. Not normal singing. This sounded like someone was trying to turn a math textbook into a musical. He checked his watch. 500 hours. The singing was coming from the cargo bay they had converted into Lyra's quarters. He pulled on his uniform and walked through the ship's corridors. Several crew members were already awake, looking confused and tired. Engineer Roberts stood outside the cargo bay door, holding a cup of coffee, and staring at the entrance. "How long has this been going on?" Marcus asked. "About an hour, sir," Roberts replied. "Should we do something?" The singing stopped suddenly. The door opened, and Lyra peeked out. Her silver skin was glowing brighter than usual, and she looked excited. "Marcus, good morning. Did you hear my dawn song?" "The whole ship heard it," Marcus said gently. "What was that about?" "Oh, it's a traditional Zephyrian courtship ritual. I was singing the mathematical proof of why we're compatible. It's based on stellar mechanics and probability theory." She smiled proudly. "Very romantic in my culture." Lieutenant Park walked up, looking exhausted. Captain. Half the crew couldn't sleep. Lyra's glow dimmed a little. Oh no. Did I do something wrong? Marcus saw the worry in her large eyes. No, Lyra, it's just humans need sleep. Maybe we could do the dawn songs a little later and quieter? Of course. I want to learn your customs too. She brightened again. Speaking of which, I prepared breakfast for you. She led them to the ship's dining area, where she had arranged several glowing objects on the table. They looked like crystals mixed with some kind of paste. What is it? Marcus asked carefully. Nutritional star matter. Very healthy. It has all the minerals from 3 different solar systems. Lyra picked up one of the crystals and bit into it. It made a crunching sound like broken glass. Marcus looked at his crew. Park made a face. Roberts backed away slowly. That's very thoughtful, Marcus said. But human digestive systems are different. We eat different things. Oh. Lyra looked disappointed. What do humans eat for romantic breakfast? Well, Marcus thought quickly, coffee is popular. And maybe some toast? Toast. Yes, I studied this. Burned bread substance. Very interesting. She made notes on her small device. And coffee is the bitter hot liquid that makes humans more alert, correct? That's right. Wonderful. I will learn to make these things. She paused. Will you teach me about human courtship now? I brought gifts. She ran back to her quarters and returned with an armload of strange objects. There were more crystals, some kind of metallic flowers, and what looked like a small star trapped in a glass ball. These are harmony crystals from Zephyr Prime, she said, setting them down carefully. And these are memory flowers. They record important moments. And this is a captured solar flare, very rare and expensive. The crew stared at the gifts. The solar flare was actually quite beautiful, swirling with golden light inside its container. Lyra, these are incredible, Marcus said honestly. But in human culture, gifts don't have to be so elaborate. They don't? Sometimes the best gifts are simple, things that show you care about the person. Lyra made more notes. Simple gifts that show caring. Can you give me an example? Marcus looked around and saw a small flower in one of the ship's garden pods. He picked it and handed it to her. Like this. Just a flower. Nothing special, but it's pretty and it shows I was thinking of you. Lyra stared at the simple flower like it was made of diamonds. This is for me? Yes. She held it carefully with both hands. No one has ever given me something just because it was pretty before. She looked up at him with shining eyes. Thank you, Marcus. Something warm flickered in Marcus's chest. Before he could think about it too much, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Captain, to the bridge! Came Kim's voice over the intercom. We have incoming ships! Marcus ran to the bridge, Lyra close behind him. On the main screen, 3 small ships were approaching fast. They didn't look like Zephyrian vessels. Pirates, sir, reported Kim. Krath raiders. They're demanding we surrender our cargo. Battle stations, Marcus ordered. Shields up. Marcus, Lyra said quietly. I should return to my quarters. I don't want to be in the way. Actually, it might be safer if you stay here where we can protect you. The pirate ships opened fire. The horizon's edge shook under the impact. Marcus gripped his chair as sparks flew from damaged consoles. Shield at 60%, called Park. Return fire. Sir, one of their ships is docking with us, Kim reported. They're boarding. Marcus grabbed his weapon. Security teams to deck 3. Roberts, you're with me. I'm coming too, Lyra said. No, absolutely not. It's too dangerous. But I can help. Lyra, you're 3 feet tall and weigh maybe 50 pounds. Please stay here. Before she could argue, the bridge doors burst open. 5 Krath pirates stormed in, big ugly creatures with thick armor and energy weapons. They looked like walking lizards with bad attitudes. Nobody move, the lead pirate growled. This ship is now property of the Krath Brotherhood. Marcus raised his hands, his weapon trained on the pirates. This is a diplomatic vessel. You're making a big mistake. The only mistake, the pirate leader said, is yours, human. That's when Lyra moved. Marcus had never seen anything like it. One moment she was standing beside him, small and seemingly helpless. The next moment, she was a silver blur moving faster than his eyes could follow. The first pirate went down with a surprised grunt. The second one fired his weapon, but Lyra wasn't there anymore. She appeared behind him and touched a spot on his neck. He collapsed instantly. The third pirate tried to grab her, but she flowed around his hands like liquid metal, striking pressure points with surgical precision. The fourth pirate lasted exactly 2 seconds. The leader stood frozen, his weapon pointing at empty air while his entire boarding party lay unconscious around him. "Impossible," he whispered. Lyra appeared in front of him, still glowing softly. "Please surrender," she said politely. "I don't want to hurt you too." The pirate dropped his weapon. Marcus stared at his small alien wife, his mouth hanging open. "Lyra, what the hell was that?" She looked embarrassed. "Basic Zephyrian self-defense. All children learn it." She paused. "Was I not supposed to fight? I know human females are often protected by males, but you seem to need help. That was basic?" "Oh, yes. I'm not very good at combat. My sister is much better. Lieutenant Park secured the unconscious pirates, while Kim coordinated with the security teams to capture the rest. The pirate ships, seeing their boarding party fail, quickly retreated." Marcus sat down heavily in his captain's chair. "Lyra, is there anything else about your people I should know?" She thought for a moment. "Well, we're stronger and faster than we look, and we have enhanced reflexes, and our bones are much denser than human bones." She tilted her head. "Is this important for courtship?" "It might be," Marcus said weakly. Roberts laughed nervously. "Captain, I think you got yourself quite a wife." Lyra beamed at this. "Really? I'm doing well at being a human wife?" Marcus looked at her. Small, deadly, innocent, and still holding the simple flower he had given her like it was precious treasure. "Yeah," he said softly. "You're doing just fine." Part 3. The Truth Unveiled. 3 days after the pirate attack, Marcus found Lyra sitting alone in the ship's small garden area. She was holding the flower he had given her, but it was starting to wilt. Her usual bright glow seemed dimmer than normal. "Hey," Marcus said, sitting down beside her on the bench. "You okay?" Lyra looked up at him with sad eyes. "The flower is dying. I tried to keep it alive, but I don't know how." "That's normal," Marcus said gently. "Flowers don't last forever, but that doesn't make them less beautiful. Everything beautiful dies eventually. But that's what makes the time we have with beautiful things special." Lyra was quiet for a long moment. "Marcus, can I tell you something? Something true?" "Of course." She took a deep breath. "The bonding ceremony. It wasn't really about trade agreements." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" "My people, the Zephyrians, we're very old. Much older than humans. We've had technology for thousands of years. We can travel between stars like you, travel between cities." She looked down at her hands. "But we're dying." "Dying? You seem pretty healthy to me. Not physically dying. Dying inside." Lyra's glow flickered. "We used to be like you. We used to feel things. Love, anger, joy, sadness. But over time, we decided emotions were inefficient, messy, unpredictable." Marcus listened quietly, sensing there was much more to come. "So we changed ourselves," Lyra continued. "Genetically, culturally, we made ourselves logical, calm, perfect." She laughed, but it sounded hollow. "And now we're perfectly empty." "But you're not empty. You're one of the most emotional people I've ever met. That's because I'm broken. Lyra smiled sadly. At least, that's what my people think. I was born with what they call emotional instability. I feel things too much. I get excited. I get scared. I care about silly things like flowers and songs. Marcus felt something click into place. That's why they chose you for this mission. Yes. They thought maybe if they sent their most defective member to study humans, I could learn to control my emotions. Become normal. She looked at him, directly. But I don't want to be normal, Marcus. I like feeling things. There's nothing wrong with you, Lyra. Emotions aren't a defect. I know that now. Living with you and your crew, I see how emotions make you stronger, not weaker. When those pirates attacked, you weren't afraid for yourselves. You were afraid for each other. That fear made you fight harder. Marcus nodded. We protect what we care about. Exactly. Lyra's glow brightened a little. But my people don't understand this. They see your species and they're curious, maybe even envious. You have something they lost long ago. Is that why they really want this cultural exchange? Lyra hesitated, then nodded. The Council hopes that by studying human emotions through a bonding, they can understand what they gave up, maybe even get it back. And if they can't, then they'll conclude that emotions are indeed a weakness. And She stopped. They'll what, Lyra? They'll recommend that humanity be contained, prevented from spreading through the galaxy. They think emotional species are dangerous. Marcus felt cold. Contained how? I don't know. But the Zephyrian Confederation has allies. Many allies. And humans are still very new to space travel. Before Marcus could respond, alarms began sounding. Throughout the ship, he activated his communicator. Captain here. What's the situation? Sir, came Kim's voice, we have a massive ship dropping out of hyperspace. It's huge, sir. Marcus and Lyra rushed to the bridge. On the main screen was a vessel that dwarfed even the Zephyrian trade ships. It was sleek, beautiful, and absolutely enormous. Incoming transmission, reported Park. The screen changed to show a Zephyrian, but this one was different from the others Marcus had seen. Taller, more imposing, with silver skin that seemed almost metallic. Most importantly, there was no warmth in its eyes at all. I am High Evaluator Nex Prime of the Zephyrian Science Council, the alien said in a voice like grinding metal. I have come to assess the progress of the bonding experiment. Marcus felt Lyra shrink beside him. Evaluator, she said formally. The bonding proceeds according to schedule. Indeed. Nex Prime's gaze fixed on Marcus like he was a specimen under a microscope. Human male, designation Marcus Chen. You will report to my vessel for evaluation. I'm afraid that's not possible, Marcus said. This is a human ship operating under Earth authority. Your authority is irrelevant. The bonding agreement gives the Confederation full evaluation rights. Nex Prime's expression didn't change. You will comply, or the agreement will be considered violated. And if the agreement is violated? Marcus asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Then Subject Lyra 9 will be returned to Zephyr Prime for reconditioning, and humanity's expansion into Confederation space will be permanently restricted. Marcus looked at Lyra. Her face had gone completely pale, and she was trembling slightly. Reconditioning? Marcus asked. The removal of emotional instabilities, Nex Prime explained matter-of-factly. A simple procedure. Subject Lyra 9 will be returned to normal Zephyrian parameters. You mean you'll take away everything that makes her who she is? Precisely. Marcus felt anger building in his chest. And if I refuse to be evaluated? Then the experiment is a failure. Subject Lyra 9 will be reconditioned regardless, and the Confederation will conclude that emotional species are incompatible with galactic civilization. The threat was clear. Submit to evaluation, or both Lyra and humanity would suffer. How long do I have to decide? Marcus asked. You have already decided, Next Prime said. You will report to my vessel in 2 hours. Come alone. The transmission ended. Marcus turned to find his entire bridge crew looking at him with worried expressions. But it was Lyra's face that broke his heart. She looked terrified. Marcus, she whispered. Next Prime isn't just an evaluator. He's one of the ones who designed the reconditioning process. He's the one who... She swallowed hard. He's the one who reconditioned my sister. What happened to your sister? She used to laugh. She used to sing. She used to paint pictures of imaginary worlds. Lyra's voice broke. Now she's a perfect Zephyrian citizen, logical, efficient, empty. Marcus put his hand on her shoulder. That's not going to happen to you. How can you stop it? He has a warship. We have an exploration vessel. Marcus looked around at his crew. Park was checking weapon systems. Kim was analyzing the enemy ship's capabilities. Roberts was already working on defensive modifications. Even facing impossible odds, they were ready to fight. Because, Marcus said, we're human, and humans don't give up on the people we care about. Lyra stared at him. You care about me? Marcus realized that somewhere between the mathematical love songs and the pirate attack, between the simple flower and the complex truth, something had changed. This wasn't just about diplomatic agreements anymore. Yeah, he said softly. I do. For the first time since Next Prime's transmission, Lyra smiled. Then we fight? Then we fight. Part 4. Fighting for love, Marcus stood in the transport bay, checking his equipment one last time. He had exactly 10 minutes before he had to leave for Next Prime's ship. His crew bustled around him, making final preparations. Sir, Lieutenant, Park said, handing him a small device. This communicator has been modified. It'll work even through their ship's interference. And this, added Engineer Roberts, giving him another gadget, will record everything that happens. If things go wrong, at least Earth will know the truth. Marcus pocketed both devices. Thanks. Take care of the ship while I'm gone. Marcus, wait. He turned to see Lyra approaching. She looked determined, but he could see the fear in her eyes. I'm coming with you, she said. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. He said you had to come alone. He didn't say I couldn't come. Lyra. This is about me too, Marcus. About my people. I have a right to be there. Marcus wanted to argue, but he could see the stubborn set of her jaw. She wasn't going to back down. Fine. But you stay behind me. And if things get bad, you run. Deal? Deal. 20 minutes later, they were aboard the Zephyrian vessel. It was like nothing Marcus had ever seen. The corridors were perfectly smooth, lit by panels that seemed to glow from within. Everything was precise, geometric, cold. 2 tall Zephyrian guards escorted them to a vast chamber. At the center was a raised platform with 2 chairs, one human-sized, one smaller. Next Prime stood waiting, along with several other official-looking Zephyrians. Human Marcus Chen, Next Prime said without emotion. You will be seated for evaluation. What kind of evaluation? Marcus asked. Mental assessment. We will examine your thought patterns, emotional responses, and psychological makeup to determine if human Zephyrian bonding has any scientific value. Marcus sat in the larger chair. Immediately, metal bands secured his wrists and ankles. A helmet descended from above, covering his head with a mesh of thin wires. Hey! Marcus struggled against the restraints. You didn't mention anything about being tied down. Compliance is necessary for accurate readings, Next Prime said. He turned to Lyra. Subject Lyra 9, you will also be monitored. No, Marcus said firmly. The deal was to evaluate me. Leave her out of this. The subject is part of the bonding pair. Her responses are relevant data. Before Lyra could protest, 2 guards grabbed her and secured her to the second chair. A smaller helmet was placed on her head. "Begin evaluation," Nex Prime commanded. Suddenly, Marcus felt a strange pressure in his mind. It was like someone was rifling through his thoughts, examining his memories. He tried to resist, but the sensation grew stronger. Images flashed through his mind. His childhood, his training as a space officer, his first command. But the presence in his head seemed most interested in his recent memories. Meeting Lyra, watching her fight the pirates, sitting with her in the garden. "Interesting," Nex Prime said, studying a display screen. "The human shows elevated neural activity when considering the subject. Classic emotional attachment patterns." "Of course I'm attached to her," Marcus said through gritted teeth. "She's brave, intelligent, and kind. Anyone would care about her." "Explain kind," Nex Prime said. "This concept is not clear in our analysis." Marcus struggled to find words while the mental probe continued. She cares about others. She tries to make people happy. She gave up her own safety to help my crew during the pirate attack." "Inefficient behavior." "No. It's what makes her special. It's what makes her better than—" Marcus stopped himself. "Better. Than what, human?" Marcus looked at Nex Prime's cold, empty eyes. "Better than you." A ripple of something, surprise, anger, went through the assembled Zephyrians. But Nex Prime's expression didn't change. "Explain this statement." "You want to know what emotions are? They're what make life worth living. They're what make us fight for each other, sacrifice for each other, love each other. Without them, you're just empty machines." Emotional responses lead to irrational decisions, inefficiency, conflict. They also lead to art, music, literature, to loyalty and courage and hope. Marcus felt the mental probe pushing deeper, but he pushed back. "You study our broadcasts, right? Our movies and songs? What do you think makes them beautiful?" "It's the emotions behind them." On her chair, Lyra was struggling against her own mental probe. "Marcus," she gasped, "they're trying to make me forget. Leave her alone." Marcus fought against his restraints with renewed fury. "The subject's emotional patterns are being analyzed," Nex Prime said calmly. "If they prove disruptive, they will be corrected." "Corrected? You mean destroyed?" "Optimized." That's when Marcus felt something snap inside him. The mental probe was still there, but suddenly he wasn't fighting it anymore. Instead, he was using it. "You want to see human emotions?" Marcus said, his voice deadly quiet. "Let me show you." He opened his mind completely, but instead of just letting them examine his thoughts, he pushed back. Every memory, every feeling, every moment of joy and pain and love and loss, he forced it all through the connection. The Zephyrians stumbled backward as Marcus's emotions hit them like a tsunami. Fear from his first space battle, grief from losing his father, joy from his crew's success, and overwhelming protective love for the small alien woman sitting beside him. "This is what you gave up," Marcus said, his voice echoing through the mental link. "This is what you lost when you decided to be perfect." Several of the Zephyrians were holding their heads, looking sick, but Nex Prime stood firm, chaotic, disruptive. "This confirms our analysis. Emotional species are—" "Stop." Everyone turned. Lyra had broken free from her mental restraints. Her silver skin was blazing with light, brighter than Marcus had ever seen. "I said stop," she repeated, standing up. The metal bands holding her fell away like paper. "Subject Lyra 9, return to your position." "No." Lyra walked to stand between Marcus and Nex Prime. "You want to study emotions? Then study this. I love him." The words rang through the chamber like a bell. "I love his stupid jokes and his terrible coffee. I love how he protects his crew and how he gave me a flower just because it was pretty. I love how he makes me feel like being different is something wonderful, not something broken. Next Prime stepped back. This is irrational. He is not even your species. So what? Lyra's glow intensified. Love doesn't care about species or logic or efficiency. It just is. And it makes us stronger. She turned to Marcus. And suddenly she was in his mind too. Not invading like the probe, but sharing. He felt her memories, her loneliness, her joy at meeting him, her fear of losing herself. And through their connection, something amazing happened. The other Zephyrians in the room began to feel it too. For the first time in centuries, they experienced genuine emotion. One of them started crying, another laughed. A third fell to his knees, overwhelmed by sensations he had forgotten existed. But Nex Prime pulled out a weapon. This contamination ends now. Both subjects will be terminated. That's when the ship shook violently. Alarms began blaring throughout. The vessel! Sir, a Zephyrian officer reported. The human ship is attacking. They're targeting our engine cores. Marcus grinned. I told my crew to come get us if I wasn't back in 2 hours. Impossible. Your ship is no match for ours. Maybe not in a straight fight, but humans are really good at fighting dirty. The ship shook again, and the lights flickered. In the confusion, Marcus broke free from his remaining restraints. Lyra, can you get us out of here? Yes. But Marcus... She looked at the other Zephyrians, who were still reeling from their emotional awakening. We can't leave them like this. They need help. Marcus looked at her in amazement. Even now, facing danger, she was thinking about others. You're right, he said. What do you need me to do? Part 5. A New Beginning. The Zephyrian ship shuddered again as another blast from the horizon's edge hit its shields. Sparks flew from damaged control panels, and the lights flickered ominously. We need to help them, Lyra said, looking at the confused Zephyrians around the chamber. Some were still crying, others laughing, all of them overwhelmed by emotions they hadn't felt in centuries. Help them what? Marcus asked, dodging as Nex Prime fired his weapon again. Remember how to feel. Without going crazy, Lyra replied. She moved to one of the fallen Zephyrians, a female who was curled up on the floor, shaking. It's okay, Lyra said gently. The feelings are scary at first, but they won't hurt you. Marcus watched in amazement as Lyra comforted the other alien. Even in the middle of a battle, with their lives in danger, she was thinking about helping others. This contamination must be stopped. Nex Prime raised his weapon toward Lyra. Marcus threw himself between them. You want to fight someone? Fight me! Marcus, no, Lyra cried. But before Nex Prime could fire, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Attention. Zephyrian vessel, came Lieutenant Park's voice. This is the UES Horizon's Edge. You have 30 seconds to release our captain and ambassador, or we will target your life support systems. Nex Prime laughed coldly. Your primitive weapons cannot... The lights went out completely. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, casting everything in a red glow. How? Nex Prime demanded. Marcus grinned. My crew knows how to target the weak spots. We've been studying your ship designs from the first day we met you. Sir, one of the Zephyrian officers called out, his voice shaky with new emotions. The humans. They're not trying to destroy us. They're only hitting non-essential systems. They could have killed us all, another officer said, wonder in his voice. But they chose not to. Why would they show mercy to enemies? Because they're not our enemies, Lyra said, standing up from helping the female Zephyrian. They're showing you what emotions really mean. Not just feeling things, but choosing to do the right thing even when it's hard. More Zephyrians were recovering from their emotional shock. They looked around with new eyes, seeing their cold, sterile ship differently. I had forgotten, one of them whispered. We used to have gardens on our ships, art, music. We gave it. All up, said another. For efficiency. Silence, Nex Prime shouted. You are all compromised. When we return to Zephyr Prime, you will all be reconditioned. That's when something unexpected happened. The other Zephyrians turned to face Nex Prime, and for the first time in centuries they looked angry. "No," said the female officer Lyra, had helped. "We will not be reconditioned." "We remember now," said another. "We remember what we lost." "And we remember why we lost it," added a third, looking directly at Nex Prime. "Because evaluators like you told us emotions were weakness." Nex Prime's weapon trembled in his hands. "I am protecting our species. Without logic, without control, we will become chaotic like these humans." "Look around," Marcus said. "Do we look chaotic to you? My crew is risking their lives to save two people they barely know. That's not chaos. That's love." "And look at us," Lyra added, taking Marcus's hand. "A human and a Zephyrian, different species, different worlds. But we found something beautiful together. Not through logic or efficiency, but through caring about each other." The ship shook again, but more gently this time. Park's voice came over the intercom again. "Captain, if you can hear this, we're ready to extract you. Just say the word." Marcus looked around the chamber. Half the Zephyrians were recovering from their emotional awakening. The other half were helping them. Even some of the guards had put down their weapons. "Nex Prime," Marcus said, "you have a choice. You can keep fighting, keep trying to force your people to be emotionless, or you can let them choose for themselves. They will choose chaos, destruction, war. Maybe some will," Marcus admitted. "Emotions aren't always easy, but they'll also choose love, friendship, art, music, hope, all the things that make life worth living." Nex Prime looked around at his crew. For the first time, Marcus saw uncertainty in the evaluator's eyes. I cannot allow this," Nex Prime said, but his voice was weaker now. "Then you're more afraid than any of us," Lyra said softly. "You're afraid of feeling anything at all." Nex Prime's weapon wavered. I was reconditioned young. I don't remember. I don't know how." Lyra stepped forward, her hand extended. "I can teach you, if you want to learn." For a long moment, Nex Prime stared at her small hand. Then slowly, he lowered his weapon. Yes. I think I would like to remember what I was before." 3 hours later, Marcus and Lyra were back aboard the Horizon's Edge. The Zephyrian ship was still there, but now both crews were working together. Several Zephyrians had come aboard the human ship, fascinated by the concept of a mess hall where people gathered just to eat and talk together. Marcus found Lyra in the garden area, tending to a new flower, one of the Zephyrian memory flowers, that could record special moments. "How are our guests doing?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Nex Prime is in the mess hall, asking Roberts to teach him how to laugh," Lyra said with a smile. "It's strange to watch. And the others?" "They're sending messages back to Zephyr Prime, telling them what happened here. Some of the other Zephyrians will want to learn about emotions too, and some won't." "No," Lyra agreed. "Some will choose to stay as they are, but now it's a choice, not a requirement." Marcus looked at her. "What about us? What happens to our bonding ceremony now?" Lyra was quiet for a moment. "The original agreement is void. You're free to return to your exploration mission. I could go back to my people, help them learn about emotions." "Is that what you want?" She looked up at him, her silver skin glowing softly in the garden light. "What I want is to stay with you. Not because of any ceremony or agreement, but because I love you. Really love you." Marcus felt his heart skip. "Even though I'm not Zephyrian? Even though we're completely different species?" "Especially because of that," Lyra said. "You taught me that being different isn't something to fix. It's something to celebrate." Marcus leaned down and kissed her forehead. In that case, Ambassador Lyra, would you like to continue exploring the galaxy together? I would love that, Captain Marcus. 6 months later, the Horizon's Edge had become the most requested diplomatic vessel in known space. Marcus and Lyra had helped establish peaceful contact with 12 new species, mediated 3 trade disputes, and stopped 2 wars. Their success came not from military might or advanced technology, but from something much simpler. They showed other species that differences could be strengths, that emotions could bring people together instead of driving them apart. Lyra had set up a small cultural exchange program on the ship. Young beings from different species came aboard to learn about cooperation, friendship, and understanding. The ship's mess hall was now filled with creatures of all shapes and sizes, sharing meals and stories. Marcus watched from the bridge as Lyra taught a group of young aliens how to tend the garden. She was laughing at something one of them had said, her whole face lighting up with joy. "Captain," Lieutenant Park said, approaching with a data pad, "we've received another request. The Andromedan Council wants us to mediate their dispute with the Centauri Alliance. What's the problem?" "Cultural misunderstanding. The Andromedans think the Centaurans are insulting them, but it might just be a translation error." Marcus smiled. "Sounds like a job for our cultural specialist. Set course for the Andromedan system." "Yes, sir." As the ship changed course, Marcus felt a warm presence beside him. Lyra had finished her gardening lesson and come to join him on the bridge. "Another mission?" she asked. "Another chance to help people understand each other," Marcus corrected. Lyra took his hand, her skin warm against his. "I like the sound of that." Looking out at the stars ahead, Marcus reflected on how much his life had changed. He'd started as a simple exploration captain and somehow become an ambassador for the idea that love could cross any boundary. "Marcus," Lyra said softly, "do you think we're making a difference?" "Look around," Marcus replied, gesturing at the bridge where humans, Ephirian, and 3 other species worked side by side. "What do you think?" Lyra squeezed his hand. "I think we're just getting started." The Horizon's Edge jumped to hyperspace, carrying its crew of dreamers and misfits toward their next adventure. Behind them, they left a galaxy slowly learning that the greatest strength wasn't in weapons or technology, but in the simple ability to care about each other. And in the ship's garden, a small memory flower bloomed, preserving forever the moment when 2 different souls found each other among the stars.